So here we are with the first edition of The Growth Connection. It's a series of interviews designed to help us all look forward to this new year with a growth mindset. I'm joined today by John Gucci Foley. Welcome, John.
Karen, glad to be here. Such an honor.
Glad to have you here. So, okay, first of all, this call sign named Gucci, where did this thing come from?
Well, here's the thing with call signs. So all fighter pilots, we get call signs, but here's the key. You don't get to pick it. And if you like it, it doesn't stick. So one day I was with my team and we were about to go out and I showed up with this thin black leather tie on. Now that wasn't even cool in the 80s, right, Karen? And all my buddies looked at me and they go, "What is that? That's Gucci." Well, no fighter pilot wants Gucci. You want Hitman, Viper, Iceman, something cool. But it didn't help. I was living on a sailboat and driving an Alfa Romeo at the time too. So it's stuck.
Oh, it's done and it's stuck. So one of my all-time favorite movies is Top Gun.
Yes.
And of course, Maverick, Goose, they're my most favorite characters of the whole movie. So
Yes.
When we were talking about, how you got your call sign Gucci, I'm thinking, okay, so how did they choose, say, Maverick or Goose or whatever? So from your perspective, it's if you don't like it, it sticks.
Yeah, it's a little of both. Well, I actually did some of the real flying in that movie, Top Gun. I'm not sure if you knew that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was on the carrier Enterprise. And so I got to meet, Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer. And
Cool.
So Hollywood did a great job, by the way, of capturing the air-to-air scenes. It was incredible. I did some of the flying. My teammates did some of the flying. But I think what was really powerful was they captured the essence a little bit of that competitiveness. And so that's what you're getting in those call signs. Iceman is the far, right hand, very cold and calculated. Maverick's, kind of on the edge, pushing the limits. And reality is it's somewhere in between. Right. But call signs, they come up in all different shapes and sizes. Hey, and by the way, when this podcast comes out, I know it's coming out in 21. We'll see Top Gun Maverick's going to be hitting the theaters probably late in the year.
I know. I'm so excited.
Oh, it's great. It's great flying footage. My buddies have been doing the flying and it's incredible stuff. You're going to really like it.
Oh, man. It was just so great. And, I'm female, right? I'm a woman. However, it doesn't mean that that we as women don't get excited about that sense of competition, that sense of accomplishment. So I'm very excited about that movie coming out. Okay, so I'm sitting here with a very accomplished individual, John. You're a former Blue Angel. Before that, you were an instructor pilot, a top 10 carrier pilot. Plus, you got a degree in mechanical engineering, and you have 3 master's degrees, 2 of which are from Stanford. So you obviously have a thirst for knowledge, for learning, for growing.
Yeah.
Where does that come from? Any idea where that's come from for you?
I think for me, it's always been part of my ethos. I think it came from my parents and the upbringing, always trying to get better, right? And do the best you can and accomplish something in a give back way. And that's where I've got a new mantra now. It's called give, learn, grow. And I got to be honest with you, I used to call it learn, grow, give. And then I realized that actually the essence is to give first, like we're doing right now, just giving what we can, sharing with the audience, hopefully being able to give them something of value, right? And so I realized that giving is first, and I do that with, of course, in all the engagements we have. It's just give as much as you can, but then you're constantly learning, and I think that thirst has always been there, and it really was strong on the Blue Angels. We had an ethos of glad to be here, which means we're grateful. So we're really trying to put out this positive energy, but also an ethos of operational excellence that allowed you to get better every single day. We're constantly trying to get better, building trust, building teamwork. And I think that that's always been a part of who I am. I mean, this whole Zoom, this last year has been a great experience of learning and growing. And what we found is we're actually able to impact clients at even a deeper level, a more intimate level.
Yeah. You've really adopted this whole virtual space that we're in terms of finding ways to help your clients to deal with some of the disruptive pressures that they've been under all year.
Yeah.
And it's probably not going to end into 2021. I think disruption's here to stay forever, major disruption. And so as a result, we need to find very different, unique ways to communicate with each other and, leaders with their employees, et cetera. So you've really been sort of one of the leaders in the space to do a great job of converting to the virtual world. Tell us a little bit about what that took for you, since learning is one of your piece
Yeah.
of your mantra. What did that take for you?
Well, first off, it's listening, right? It's listening to, the customers and finding out what do
Yeah,
they need, right? And if you remember when it first happened, we weren't sure. Everybody was trying to
yeah,
pivot,
yeah,
and all this.
yep,
But it
yep.
became very clear that people needed connection. And that's why I like what you call growth connection, right? Before you can grow, you got to connect, right? And so, especially virtually with people, some companies, most companies being remote, but a lot having hybrid cases. And I found that that's what people were asking the most of. How do I get my people to stay connected? How do I keep them inspired?
Right,
How do I keep them
right.
not just motivated, but, feeling positive when there's all these challenges around us? So that
Yeah,
was number one. But what I liked is that most clients, if that was it, that would have been fine. But what we realized that it's not enough just to connect. We got to align everybody. We have to look at the glass as being half full, not half empty. And so how do you do that? Well, you got to paint a metaphor and you got to connect people. These new tools we have that allow us
hmm
to go into breakout rooms, that allow us to do these beautiful word clouds, allows us to do surveys, allows the interaction that, people come out of these meetings more inspired and more pumped up, but also with a clear action plan.
yeah, yeah. You mentioned connect and alignment in a recent tweet that you did. It's just a day or so ago. You talked about seeing things from a different perspective,
Yeah.
which gives you greater context. And
Yeah.
then that context gives you greater understanding of how things connect.
Yeah.
And then from that, alignment grows. And that causes you to pay less attention to the insignificant things,
Yeah.
which allows you to become more strategic. Now, holy moly, there's a lot to unpack in
Yeah.
there. I'd like us to unpack that.
Yeah.
So I know you talk a lot about connect, align, commit when you're presenting and with your clients when you're doing training and advisory work.
Yeah.
How does what you tweeted about, the different perspective gives you greater context? Let's start there.
Yeah.
Let's unpack that out.
Yeah, well, it's what you do. It's how you build trust and teamwork, and then the commitments get you whatever we're trying to achieve, right? Which is taking care of
Right.
our people first, taking care of the customers, making a difference in people's lives. And what I learned was there's a lot of science behind having this glad to be here or positive state of mind. It turns out, Karen, that when you're in a grateful state of mind, it lights up the area of your brain, okay, where your observations come from, how you perceive the world. Now, then also when you're in a generous state of mind, so you're giving, you're sharing with people, right? It lights up the area of your brain where self-esteem comes from. So
Mm-hmm.
here's what's powerful. When you connect those two dots, when you're in a grateful state of mind and a generous state of mind, you will see things others don't see, and you have the confidence to take the action. That's innovation. That's creativity. That's seeing a glass as half full, not half empty. And so it's amazing when you can get people, not just, myself, when you can get a whole organization to take on that mindset. It's amazing what can happen.
So, gratefulness is something I've heard of for a long time. Lots of us have heard about having a grateful mindset. Um, but there's a lot of people that are probably pretty fearful, right?
Yeah,
Even,
exactly.
going into 2021, there's a lot of fear. So, um, how do you connect that dot between, my gosh, how the heck can I be grateful when I'm scared?
Right.
I'm just scared.
Well, I like to make a distinction because you're absolutely right. The biggest challenge we have and the biggest, call it an enemy out there, is not the coronavirus. It's fear. It's what you just
Mm,
said. It's fear
mm,
itself. And so how do you overcome the fear that, by the way, I think is natural. It's okay to feel fear. I actually, to flip it though, I say that I'm scared, but never afraid. And this is a
mm.
subtle point that's a big difference. See, to me, scared is awareness. All right. It's those little hairs that stand on the back of your neck. It says, let's wear our PPE equipment. Let's take the precautions we're supposed to. I mean, companies are doing that. They know that, right? But how do you deal with the fear in an individual's heart, right? And
Right.
actually, the antidote for fear is joyful effort. Most people would have no idea that, but it's having a joyful effort. You watch, you will overcome that fear. And so with me, whether it was flying jets off aircraft carriers or flying the Blue Angels, or more importantly, what I've done after the military, like you
Right.
said,
Right.
Stanford Business School, worked with now over 1,000 companies, and you get to see this at a real level, right?
Right.
And what you can see is that, we can show and analogies and give people the inspiration, but more importantly, the tools to overcome their own fear. And one of them is being scared. So again, what I mean by that is you don't walk down a dark alley late at night. You don't
Right.
blow off things, right? You're aware of it. You increase your awareness. And with that awareness, what you want to do and what companies are asking for is alignment, right? Let's get our
Right.
people
Right.
aligned, because there's
Right.
so many distractions out there, and there's
Yep.
so much things that are going to pull us away. So if we can get them connected and aligned, then what we want to do is be very strategic in what's the commitments we want to make. And I call those high trust contracts, by the way. And those are verbal and nonverbal. And with those high
Right.
trust contracts, bam, you get some great operational excellence execution.
So how do you create those high trust contracts? I'm
Yeah.
assuming they could, how do you do that?
Well, we do it right here in the Zoom rooms, or the breakout rooms. We do it right here in the virtual way. Is you get people to, number one, lay it on the table. I have what I call 5 dynamics that create a high trust environment. Okay. First is you got to have a safe environment. And I'm not just talking physical safety. I mean, psychological safety. All right. Second is you want to check your ego at the door. We get to work with so many great people. There are so many amazing people and companies out there, right? And so what I've noticed is that everybody is good. Let's just check our ego at the door, because this is about the we, not the I. This is about better together. So that's the second element. The third element is to lay it on the table. And that's just openness and honesty, Karen. It's, it's getting people in a room and saying, let's be open and honest about this. The fourth is ownership mentality. I like to call it an own it and fix it, which is really accountability. But what I've learned, and this is what's really critical, is it's not about accountability. If all you're working on is accountability, you're not a high performance team yet, because what you really want to have is personal responsibility. And when you have personal responsibility, accountability and ownership becomes a given. And then I think the fifth and most important one is to have a glad to be here mindset, out of respect and gratitude and gratefulness. And what I found, Karen, is that works in every organization, in every vertical, whether it's, healthcare, technology, manufacturing. I mean, it's about people and teams, right? And that's what's making the difference.
Yeah. I've watched some footage of you doing a debriefing session, you call them, I believe, debriefing session with the Blue Angels. And then I've had the honor to sit in on some of those debriefing sessions with some clients lately.
Yeah.
And, I've been thrilled to participate with you where you were saying, hey, my safety, that was my error, or whatever you would say. That doesn't happen a lot, in these kinds of environments when you're working with a client. So tell me what you feel that does by saying, hey, personal responsibility, accountability, and my safety, meaning, hey, I made a mistake, right?
Yeah. Or there's things we could have done better, right?
Or we could have done better.
And that's one, well, we're always trying to give, right? Just give value. And I think the first thing is you got to come from a humble mindset, right? That humility. Right. So, you mentioned it with clients, and the debriefs are so powerful right after an event, right? And so what I've learned, Karen, is that first I paint the picture by showing a video. You've seen this in that Blue Angel debriefing room. It's one thing to talk about it, but it's a whole nother thing to see it. And you viscerally can feel it, right? It's unique. And I always do a breakout with them and talk about, well, how is that in your company, in your relationships, right? And they get it. People talk about those 5 dynamics. So then what we do is we actually implement them right after the event. I mean, right then and there. Right. They get to see how quickly you can implement this. And it starts with an inward look for an outward result. That's why I always talk about myself and what am I grateful for, big picture. And it's such a blessing to work with so many individuals, right? And to be able to share and give back. And then I'm always looking to improve. And I thought the way to improve is, number one, notice? Is there anything you could have done better? And then just ask the client and they'll tell you. And it allows us to get better for the next event.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And you mentioned earlier that, glad to be here. It seems to be um, give, learn, grow is,
Yeah.
I think, a mantra of yours, right?
Yeah.
But so does glad to be here. I mean,
Yeah.
you finish every conversation you and I have with glad to be here. I know that came from the Blue Angels. Unpack that more. Tell us more
Well,
about where that came from.
it's the game changer. I mean, in the videos that I get to show, you'll see people in the debriefs, they always end their statements with the glad to be here. And back when I was on the Blue Angels, what that meant was you reminded yourself how fortunate you were to be part of that team, just to be selected. And if I think of all the companies we work with, and actually it's also the individuals, that's the secret sauce, is just being grateful for the opportunities we have. Right. And that becomes the game changer, because when you can instill a culture of glad to be here, and it's not just words. Okay. And I think that's the essence that you're feeling. Is what I've noticed is it's an ethos. It's the way to see the world.
Right.
It's about being respectful, but also about challenging each other in a beautiful way. It's about appreciating others. It's about a growth mindset. Glad to be here mixed in with this operational excellence. So you got to have a plan, got to have a process, right? And we show that. When you combine the two, it really is exponential results. It's not 1 + 1 = 2. It's 1 + 1 = 11. And most importantly, the people leave feeling better about not only themselves, but about the world and the people they get to work with.
So has the Blue Angels always had that as a mantra? How long has that been? It's a cultural thing. It's something that, from what I understand, is a long-term cultural perspective there.
Yeah, when I joined the team, you never get to sit in on a debrief when you're an applicant. It's only when you're a Blue Angel, right? Because it's a sacred space. And I remember the first time I sat in on a debrief, I had just gotten selected and I was blown away. Number one, just with how humble everyone was. Number two, how they were constantly looking to improve. What I thought was excellent, they picked apart and said, we can be a lot better. But they always ended with this, just the words, glad to be here. And that's stuck to my heart. But what I've really done is I've realized that I've taken it a whole new way of, it's much more than just being grateful. All right. It's actually a culture of excellence. It's actually a culture of caring. And this culture is what is the most important, because when you have that, and you can create these in little small teams first, right? It doesn't have to come top down. It's beautiful. And I've never seen anybody not only embrace it, but actually take it home. And people, they'll text me and they'll say, hey, I used it at the table with my kids. When we talk about what are we grateful for today, and what are we grateful for when we wake up, and this glad to be here is the secret sauce. That's it.
And it sounds, obviously to me, it would also really help to increase performance, right? My personal performance and my organization's performance, right?
Yeah, it's the starting point. And actually, most people think that, well, after I increase performance, then I'll be happy. It's actually just the other way around. Once you create that gratefulness and gratitude in your own heart, you watch not only your own individual performance go up, because it's natural, the energy to create it, right? But the team environment goes up, the organization environment goes up, and that to me is the benefit of having a process and a mindset that's called glad to be here.
Cool. Awesome. Now you created a foundation for the Glad to Be Here Foundation. So what kind of work has that foundation been doing?
Well, Karen, in the last decade alone, we've been able to sponsor over, I think, 347 different charities around the world. We've donated over $2 million. We sponsor, my wife and I sponsor 47 kids, and I know you do too, in countries all around the world. In fact, my vision and dream is to sponsor a child in every country of the world, because I want us to come together, But it started really one day. I always wanted to give back, and I said, well, I'll wait till I make a lot of money and then I'll be able to give back. And that wasn't happening that fast, Karen, And so I finally said, hey, what the heck, just start tomorrow. And what we do now, and we've been doing this last decade, is every time we get hired, it's all future revenues. I give 10% to charity, and the clients, they usually don't know this when they select us, but there's 10% is going to go to charity. And then I realized that probably, there's so many good works out there. Everybody is really caring that we give now, we let the client pick where half of that goes.
Oh,
So
cool.
that's where we've
Cool.
done 347 charities, because probably 300 of those have been clients, charities.
Wow.
And they
Wow.
impact. And when you see so many people out there just really caring, and a lot of
Yeah.
local stuff, I mean, because, it's wherever the client is,
Yeah.
we'll support them. And
Yep. Yep.
it's changed my life. Our business took off like crazy. I don't know if that's because the business got better or because we were giving more. I think
Oh,
it's a little of both.
I think it's a little of both, but I think I'm a big believer in you give and you shall receive. I'm a big believer in that mantra.
Yeah.
So, Top Gun world, Blue Angels world, it's historically very masculine. And
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier, though, that I really kind of identify with the Top Gun world from way back when to that movie. Goodness, what is it, 25, 30 years ago that they made that movie? Whatever it is,
86,
long. Yeah,
1986.
long time ago. So, I had somebody ask me
Yeah.
just last week, um, how do your ideas appeal to a more gender diverse audience, males, females? What are your thoughts about that?
Well, first off, thanks for bringing it up. It's always a challenge at first, but what happens is at the end, glad to be here is universal. Okay, excellence is
Right.
universal. It doesn't come from any male, female,
It's
or
not
any.
male or it's not masculine or feminine
And
trait.
what people find is that actually, I'm very proud of the military and the Blue Angels and what they've accomplished since, back in the 80s and 90s when I was there. Much more diverse. I mean, if you look at it, it's amazing what the country is going through and how powerful that is. I actually get more people standing in line to talk and say thankful. There are more women than there are men. This message actually resonates more with the women in the audience, because they realize that it's this caring piece. It's this
Right.
idea of having both excellence with a deep compassion and a deep caring. And actually, coming from a male, they're surprised a little bit, but they feel it. It's not rhetoric, right?
Right.
And
Right.
and I think that's what we care about, right? It
Right.
doesn't. It's about bringing the whole world together. That's when I meant sponsoring a child in every country. It's about better together. This is about
Yeah.
leadership. This is about teamwork, and we are better. The more diverse, the more we embrace other people's ideas, the more we learn to listen and care about each other. Then all your processes and your procedures work so much better.
Yeah. I'm with you 100% there. So, this has been amazing. Thank you. I'm so grateful for the time that you've spent here. One last thing,
Yeah.
if you could speak directly to one or two people today, what do you think? January 4th, 2021 has just passed once this is played, right?
Yeah.
So, what do you think is the best next step for us as leaders or individual employees, or just, somebody doing whatever at home? What's our next best step for this new year?
Well, first, it's just embrace the change that we're seeing in the world. And what I mean by that is I truly know that it's an optimistic time frame out there, to be aware that, yes, we still have challenges and we're going to take care of those. But I think back to my dad always said, embrace challenges, because challenges
Mm,
build endurance, and then
mm.
endurance builds character. And with strong character, you're ready for anything. And I think that's true as an individual, as a team, and as an organization. We're building the character and the culture that is making a difference. I'm super excited for 2021. I'm so grateful for all the opportunities we get. And let's continue to help others and help the world.
Yeah,
Glad to be.
I am with you there. Glad to be here.
Thank you, Karen. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.